What's going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson. A little bit late, on a Monday night, still in celebration mode because, let me just say this public service announcement. I don't judge people by color, race, religion, gender, none of that. I judge them if they're Cowboy fans. That's how I judge people. Speaking of Cowboy fans, let me get my guy in here, my brother, 18 years, Mike Harrison Noodles in the building. You know I had to, Mike. Come on now. But I will say this, man. It was a very close game. It was a good game. Our rematch is December 10th. They've made a Sunday night football, so I'm excited to see what happens. But I'll take what shot I can get in tonight because
I know.
I was nervous. I ain't even gonna lie. I was nervous. I was nervous.
You should have been a little nervous. I mean,
I was.
I was too, obviously. And I know John's not here, but it goes to the whole thing of, and I'll get into it in my game, but, Zeke may have not been the same guy, but you bring him back at a smaller price. I mean, look, Tony Pollard's still effective. It's different when even if you're there in a spot series. You and I know that if you have a series or if you come in as that third down back. I mean, Tony Pollard, you look at the last two seasons, but that second to last year, Zeke started getting more touches. You saw explosiveness. Okay. Last year, the Minnesota game, and even down the stretch, because he was a teeny bit banged up, but even down the stretch, like that Minnesota game where they, everybody thinks it's going to be a close game, and the Cowboys win 40-3, and Tony Pollard goes crazy. Like in the NFL, I know what Ray disagrees saying, but and you and I have talked about it. Like if you have that back, but even if you have a very serviceable one, like I said, I'll get into it with Buffalo and Cincinnati, but yeah, no, man, I didn't like the non-urgency. Like, I don't like to, Greg Olsen is from Jersey, so he's a good guy, as we know, being from Jersey. But, he kept saying, be urgent. I know you heard it because you were watching the game. He kept saying,
I did.
Be urgent.
And I agree with you. There didn't seem to be
like Dak just has that to me. That's how I just want to wrap that because it's not my game, but to wrap our game, like, real quick, like, I don't know if it's Mike McCarthy's play calling. It seemed like last year's a little bit more. And when somebody's saying urgency, Eric, you and I both know it doesn't mean you have to be like running around, like shouting the play to every single, position or skill player. Right. But look, they were confident going down, driving the ball, but I need to see more urgency from Dak. And Mike McCarthy, even though a few years back when they beat the Chargers in LA and Tony Pollard had that winning touchdown, like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's frustrating as hell to me because show some urgency. Again, you don't have to be going crazy, but like that one pass, like, and I agree with Greg Olsen, like before he threw that pass out of bounds, save the 7, 8, 9 seconds, just spike the ball. You and I both know, Eric, that late in the game, the down doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly. At that particular stretch, listen, first off, I don't know what happened to my defense the last 40 seconds of that game.
Well, those guys are banged up, man. Like I said, I don't want anybody to go. You know me. I don't like your team. I don't root for injury. When Hurts took that hit, but then when Gardner that went down and then Slay went out like back to back.
Bradbury went out.
Bradbury, I'm sorry, yeah.
Went out, and it was just one of those things where listen. I've never been more appreciative of a bye week than I am the fact that this week coming up we don't play because of everything that got sustained. And listen. It goes without saying, everybody who knows you, who knows me, and who knows the sports arena understands that I do not have any love for the Cowboys. I just don't. What I will say to you is Philadelphia yesterday, the last 40 some odd seconds of that game, basically gave the Cowboys every chance to win that damn game. And if it wasn't for the Cowboys being the Cowboys and basically, I hate saying this to quote Stephen A, but whatever can go wrong will go wrong. It just went wrong for y'all because
I agree, but I could also say you guys got lucky.
We did. Mike, I'll take nothing away from it.
If Dak's got a half a size shoe smaller like Kevin Durant in the playoffs, like it's a 2-point conversion, you kick a field goal to go overtime. The millimeters of difference in that touchdown to the tight end. Who didn't, and Olsen was talking about the rub route. Look, it was a great game. It was kind of like last year's game in Philly, except Dak did play. And look, I'll give him this. He didn't have a turnover. He took a sack at a wrong time. Terrence Steele, I mean, your D-line got to him. Terrence Steele got beat up a little bit, but that's why I was saying to like you and John last week and even Ray, like it's one of those things where having Tyron Smith out there still, he's old, right? Ancient. We call all these people old, but he can still ball, as you know. I mean, look, I'm watching Lane Johnson for you. Same thing, man. Because
I'm asking myself yesterday when I finally saw Brandon Graham on the field. I'm like, where you been this whole game? I'm like, where have you been? I ain't seen you all game till the fourth quarter. But Mike, I will say this to you. This is the only shot I'm gonna throw at you with regards to this game yesterday. I said that preseason, we did our preseason predictions. I said Cowboys ain't got no wide receiving core. I said y'all got CeeDee Lamb and that's it. And yesterday, when I expected Brandon Cooks to show up, he was targeted maybe twice. And didn't catch nothing. Y'all better be thanking your lucky stars for Ferguson because Ferguson had control of the entire middle yesterday.
Right. Well,
my defense did not find that big boy. I was like, how is Ferguson so open? Like I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that your tight end, and this brother ain't no small dude, was just clear as day, had green for miles. I was like, yo, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like somebody, but
Gallup, the last 3 weeks. I mean, and that's the last thing I'll say seriously about this is, once we get back to it later, is if I'm Dak Prescott on that last play, yes, I know who's covering CeeDee Lamb, but you saw it on the replay. Dude, Eric, if you're my guy, I'm putting the ball up to you. I'm living with my number one guy. You know, like when people say Stephon Diggs going crazy or these receivers or divas, or your boy A.J. Brown, who obviously had a good game yesterday, didn't go crazy nuts, but, I mean, did enough. And, I mean, CeeDee Lamb, I mean, A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb pretty much in the same game. I mean, they were the number one dudes, like you said. But that last play, you just chuck the ball up to CeeDee Lamb. Like the one in the I mean, before the play before the penalty or the sack, like chuck it up to CeeDee Lamb, man. Like it's the last play of the game. You've gone to your number one all game, and like you said, if he's not there, you might look for Ferguson, throw it, like launch it up in the end zone, see what happens. But no, man, look, I'm just happy they actually showed the fortitude to come back. You know, they had a lead, they went back and forth. But yeah, your defense, I mean, played like I thought it would. The brotherly shove worked a few times. I mean,
three times we made it work yesterday.
It did.
Yeah.
So, I still love you, but I hate your team. Just so you know,
listen, I still love you, but I can't stand your team.
I don't use the word hate. You know that, but when it comes
I know. December 10th, we got the rematch. Like I said, Sunday Night Football in Jerry World. So Monday, December 11th, we will have this conversation one more again. But all right, we are halfway through the season. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, we're in week 9 right now. So let's talk about some of the things going on. And we got our halfway through the season awards here. So let me ask you, Mike, right now, in your opinion, who is your coach of the year? Let's start there.
My coach of the year.
Yeah.
Man, this one was tough because, dude, I looked at a few. You know me. I look at teams that are winning. I looked at teams that, you know, might be struggling, but I've always said this to you, that are improved. Like you see the growth, and it's not just a knee-jerk reaction from yesterday's game, but I got to go to your other favorite football city. I got to go to Houston and DeMeco Ryans, man. Like, how is he? Look, now a lot of people I know the pushback would be easy for me because I thought about this today after I got back from ASU. The pushback is easy, and you and I talked about this, or we've all talked about this. Lovie Smith didn't leave the covers bare on defense. Like that defense is young and still good, and DeMeco Ryans obviously taking it to the next step. But you inherited a Lovie Smith defense that over last year we saw what they did down the stretch. I mean, not even being a homer, but against the Cowboys, you almost won that game in the pick'em. Dallas had to score late against the Chiefs, pushing them to well, I think they pushed him to overtime last year, if I'm correct. Or it was late in the fourth quarter overtime, but the Chiefs barely won that game. And then down the stretch, you saw the defense. So, and look, they draft C.J. Stroud, but they don't lose anything on defense. Their offensive line was going to be a question-ish, but inevitably, it's not the worst offensive line in the league. So, look, man, my hat's off to Mr. Ryans. like I said, it was tough. I mean, Dan Campbell to me is right there. And even, and it's crazy because I looked at each team, and of course, I'm not going to say Mike McCarthy. I'm not going to say, any coach I mean, I think you could kind of throw Ron Rivera in there as a longer shot, just because, like, okay, they've won, they've been inconsistent, but look, they went with Sam Howell. He's doing his thing. They're going to have a tough mentality, but I mean, it's also tough not to go with John Harbaugh, in my opinion, because people say, oh, when teams are winning, like, so everybody wants to give it to who's winning, or,
right.
This guy's, but like John Harbaugh and with the Ravens, I mean, yeah, you bring in a new offensive coordinator, but he, like, again, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, the two longest tenured coaches in the division, right? Again, not that the other two aren't good, but you see what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, and Mike Tomlin, of course, because every year he should be fired, but yet they're 5-3 and coming off, a win over Tennessee, which I was dumb not to pick them at home. But that's just me. But yeah, no,
it's a short week. You were unsure. I totally get it.
Right. I go with DeMeco Ryan. Look, I mean, hats off. And like we said, the ownership has been a joke. Deshaun Watson kind of threw fuel on the fire of the ownership and made it worse. All that stuff, headlines, everything. And Lovie Smith, yes, got screwed. But man, that defense is balling out. And I mean, look, man, no one's running away with the South. I mean, Jacksonville, look, they've definitely stepped up their game. I know we'll get to them later, but yeah, I got to go with DeMeco Ryans, man, because
I'm glad you brought up Jacksonville, because that's exactly where I'm going. I'm saying Jacksonville because, and I said it last week, I said, you know what? Jacksonville's going to win the AFC South by default, because with Antonio Richardson being gone in Indianapolis, no disrespect to Gardner Minshew, but Indy is built not how they used to be built, okay? Right. Tennessee lost Ryan Tannehill. Listen, Will Levis, I'm sure he's going to be good, but he's not. I mean, listen, Derrick Henry right now is carrying that team, and we'll see how far that team goes. And then you just talked about Houston. Houston is on the rise. Let's see what they do moving forward. So right now, it is Jacksonville. And Doug Peterson, and listen, people are going to say, well, you're only saying that because of what he did in Philly. Yeah, because there are the same similarities. Much to my chagrin, it's like, okay, the problem wasn't Dougie P in Philly. They're just, things were not going the way Howie and Jeffrey wanted them to go. So they cut bait, they parted ways. As I knew, Doug Peterson was going to find a job somewhere else. Now he's got a young Trevor Lawrence, a seasoned Trevor Lawrence, if you will. ATN is balling. You've got Christian Kirk.
We ripped on Urban Meyer. I got to cut you off for 1 second. We ripped on Urban Meyer, deservedly so. And a lot of people said, what are you doing taking Lawrence's teammate? Yeah. I never said Urban Meyer couldn't evaluate talent.
Right.
I just think overall, as grumpy as he got and everything at the end, like, I didn't think it was going to work because of how he thinks. But yeah, that was a hell of a pickup, man. ETN and our brother, God rest Alex, was like, why would he do that? Because you have like 1,000-yard rusher. Well,
yeah.
It worked out well.
And so, right now, my coach is, because he has this team back, where they were in 2016, 2017. Excuse me. On course to potentially win this division and maybe make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. People aren't sleeping on the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I'll tell you, people are now paying a little more attention to them based on where they're at. So when we transition to, from coach of the year to defensive player of the year, I'm curious, because I'll give you my guy.
All right.
Okay. And this one may or may not surprise some people, but if you know me, you understand my connection to him. I'm going with Max Crosby, because for all the insanity that is happening in Las Vegas, Max Crosby has still come out there and remained a leader among men, and has still had this team in positions to win games that I didn't think were possible. And we saw that, especially, now granted, yes, it was against the Giants yesterday, but looking back at that game and just watching some of the highlights, it's like That wasn't the same Raiders team that we saw at the beginning of this year. No. At least offensively. We knew defensively what they were going to be able to do. But Max Crosby right now, holding the fort down and continually letting Las Vegas, from the defensive side of things, remain relevant, I have to give it to him and say halfway through the season, and granted, there are many other names out there who are solidifying and putting their stamp on defensive player of the year. One of those guys, of course, being, I love him because he went to Penn State, and I can't stand him because he plays for Dallas and Micah Parsons. You know, I could talk about the Von Millers of the world and more others, but I just feel like Max Crosby right now, over these first 9 weeks, has been the dude to not give up. Right. No matter the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault that because, you know me, I like to, this time last year, it was a lot easier for me, as you know, because Micah Parsons was like absolutely crushing the first half of the season. And again, this year it's a little different. You know, people are going to adjust, but he's still wreaking havoc. I mean, I'm still bitter yesterday that and I'll refer to our game for one more second, Eric, because I was bitter about the non-PI call on CeeDee Lamb when old boy's pulling his arm and the ref's looking right at him, doesn't throw the flag. But Micah Parsons, the dude, he's already by the dude, and he has his hands on his back, and the referee doesn't throw crap. And Dallas got the holding call play later when not Ferguson, the other tight end shifted, like the guy kind of shifted, his hand was just slipped outside, and they called out the next series. But no, Micah Parsons, look, I mean, what he means and what he's done. You like I talked about last year, like, yeah, you might not get as many sacks, but you're going to cause a defense to run away from you. And Dan Quinn, as I've said, can do that. I mean, Micah Parsons definitely in the conversation. Max Crosby. I mean, again, looking at records, I kind of thought about it, but yeah, I mean, that guy's a beast. But I went with Myles Garrett. I mean, low-hanging fruit or not, like that dude, I mean, he's got a sack. Like once they said like one out of every 20 snaps, he's getting a sack. And it's like, that's crazy. I mean, and the pressures, I mean, that blocked field goal, against the Colts. And I will say this for Indy, they're kind of getting back to their defense of 2 years ago real quick, Eric. So that'll be interesting down the stretch. Can your boy Gardner Minshew again? In spots, he's been good. We'll see. But I digress to Myles Garrett. Like that draft, and it cracks me up because he was in an interview and he didn't want to, at time go to Cleveland. He said, man, he gets that Texas A&M. He goes, well, I think the Cowboys should trade up and get me because I'm not going to be around when they draft. And Myles Garrett said it, and I was like, wow, I would be really, really stoked about that. But, yeah, I mean, look, just how that defense has grown. I mean, yeah, yesterday, it's not an overreaction, obviously, from yesterday. They shut the Cardinals out. But, I mean, the way that D-line plays, I mean, and their defensive backs, too, like that secondary. We talked about, guys like, Denzel Ward that's back there. Like, this guy came out of college like, oh, look at this DB. Like, this guy's money. Well, he absolutely is. But he disrupts so much. And you talk about, when you're trying to make reads, it's like, yeah. And then when they check down the secondary, I mean, look, it's right there. So to me, it's crazy because you see the records, but now that Burrow's healthy, I mean, this literally is shaping up to be the toughest and the best division in football.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. It really
Myles
is.
Garrett, dude, that guy. I mean, I know ever since that Pittsburgh game, he had him and what's his name, the quarterback from the Steelers when Mike Tomlin was on his third quarterback, but swinging the helmet.
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say it's a reindeer because he had a reindeer and he had Duck Hodges and Mike Tomlin. Sorry, I know, low hanging fruit, Eric. Terrible. But yeah, he had Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph, the reindeer. But yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett, a lot to come back from that. But at the same time, like just what he means to that, and it's kind of like like Jadeveon Clowney was there doing good, and I mean they have a good D line and a front seven and their secondary. Like they can be had, but when they make a mistake, you better capitalize because he's not going to let you do too much. So yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of names, and like I said, the second half of the season, people get the whole "what have you done for me lately?" Yes, I know a lot of people. I'm not ripping on everybody, but they look at the full circle. But yeah, I mean, just to look at what he's doing, I mean, and another guy too. Because I know what he means to that defense. And even though, yes, they're on a 3-game losing streak, but it's not like, they're giving up a ton of points. They were on their bye, couldn't have come at a better time for them either, is Fred Warner. Because that dude every year for the Niners shows up and shows. I mean,
agreed.
Yeah, when you have a great defensive line, but if you don't have linebackers that can fill things and make tackles and get everybody, like Fred Warner's like that dude. So I think he's definitely put his name in the hat. But I think Myles Garrett is almost head and shoulders above everybody else. And that's insane to say with some of the years these guys are having.
Yeah. What about your offensive player of the year?
My offensive player of the year to this point.
Yeah.
It's tough because I unfortunately, like I said, I do, even though people say he's not the same, and me and John go back and forth because my theory is if you can run the damn ball, you can run the damn ball. But unfortunately, I still have defended, as you know, Jalen Hurts. He was in there. But offensively, to this point, I'm going with Lamar Jackson. I just think that, and Ray and I get into it, and people, we'll talk numbers and sports, and him and I will go back and forth. And I said, look, man, I'm not saying I watched him the most, and you've heard me say this a million times, Eric. I didn't watch him the most in college, but I watched him every year at college playing for Bobby Petrino. And it's like, okay, when you first get in, of course, you're going to limit the playbook. You don't want him to take off and run, but he always just didn't take off and run. And when you watched him at Louisville each year, like I said, the year after he won the Heisman, which he still was the best player in college football that year, I'll give him that. But his numbers actually were better the next year too. He took a jump in each category. So now he's completing 70% of his passes. And it's like, so he didn't throw a touchdown pass. And people say, well, you're going to say somebody didn't throw a touchdown. Yeah, because Lamar Jackson is that important to an offense. Did they need to revamp it? Yes. But look, now he's not just looking to, okay, let me just dump it off to a back. Let me just, get it to what is that? Mark Richards, his tight end, who's phenomenal. I think Lamar Jackson, I would definitely go with the offensive player of the year. It's complimentary, but every time a running back goes down, Eric, who fills the gaps and stays on the field? And now you're completing, everybody's magic number now, 70%, the check down age or not, Eric, you're completing 70% of your passes. Now he's up to 70%. So like you always say, the goalposts move. Now with Joe Burrow healthy and what he looks like, and look, I'm still not going to take anything away from Josh Allen too, and Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek Hill, I know if Ray was here, I have no problem giving him offensive player of the year, with what he's doing. I mean, what he means to an offense, because that is obvious. But yeah, I mean, what Lamar, how much he's grown, even from when he was a unanimous. I mean, just think about that. He won a unanimous MVP. Yes, he was rushing like crazy. He was still completing over 63% of his passes, which obviously you and I know doesn't suck. And he wasn't turning the ball over. And now you look at him, it's like, cool. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. That's why Jalen Hurts is right there to me too, Eric, because I know you said offensive player of the year, but kind of.
Yeah, we'll get to the MVP conversation. Right. Let me get mine out the way, because you done thrown. Right. I'm still wondering. Wait, are you moving now?
Lamar Jackson, all day.
So my offensive player of the year, and I'm giving this man a lot of love. And yes, it is a homer pick, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it all starts with the center. And I don't care who you are or where you're from. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this till the wheels fall off. Jason Kelce is the best center in the entire NFL. And trust me, people, you won't change my mind. What that man has done, 146 consecutive starts in the NFL. This man has been the glue to hold this team together. Win, lose, Super Bowl, no Super Bowl, playoffs, no playoffs, division game, intramural game, interleague game. Doesn't matter whether we're in Philly, whether we're in LA, whether we're in Dallas, whether we're in Pittsburgh, Houston, Indy, it doesn't matter. Jason Kelce is a Philly legend, people. Okay, he has attained that level of greatness. And in my eyes, and yes, it is a homer, and yes, I am biased, but I challenge anybody and everybody because, as I always say, I ain't a hard man to find. Jason Kelce is my offensive player of the year because it starts right there with him. And we brought up the brotherly shove. Do you people understand? And I know the 92 percenters, as they say on their show, New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce. Jason Kelce, every time the brotherly shove happens, you know who's at the bottom of that pile each and every time? Jason Kelce. Getting us 2 yards, getting us 3 yards, getting us 1 yard, and continually getting first downs. Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, made it very clear. When the Philadelphia Eagles are on offense, we only need 9 yards. That's it. Because the brotherly shove's going to get us that other first down. It happened 3 times yesterday. This is all because of the 2 men at center. One being the actual center, Jason Kelce, and the other one being the guy who can deadlift over 600 pounds, number 1, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. But Jason Kelce is the offensive player of the year.
No, I mean, look, I think in the development of a young quarterback, because we always say, when a quarterback, like when Dak came in, I mean, that was the thing. Like, people were like, oh, you can't go back to Romo. And I told you all year, like, great. Like, unfortunately, Kellen Moore got injured, so Dak took over. And yes, he had that line, and he had Zeke, who was a rookie, and they were just, bully balling people. And you could bring Dak along. But I said all along, when Romo came back, I would have been like, he's starting. Like, you have to understand that as a backup. But, like, the development of a quarterback, to your point, like having somebody like Jason Kelce there, and then, the steps that he took. Yeah, I mean, he's working with quarterback coaches, receivers, and timing, but your center and breaking down, I'm sure, like film in the offseason, that's who I'd be sitting with. Like the center, like, hey, so, okay, we call this is the call, but like, what are you seeing from him? Like, they did this here, and not just, I'm not saying a place where he may have got sacked or hurried, but you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, look, I as much as I don't like to compliment your team as much as I have, but no, I could see it. And I mean, I just wish that, that Jason Kelce would have been a Cowboy playing next to Zach Martin. And then I would have had the best center and guard. No, but look, I mean, look, I'm all for it, because God forbid you ever talk about a lineman or anything winning an award like that, or like a defensive player winning an MVP or something like that, or the Heisman Trophy. But no, I mean, I look, when you're responsible for that, and again, they're just winning, and people are like, oh, they don't look the same, they don't look right, dude. Cool, I'll take 8-1 all day and not look right, because just like Baltimore, we can run the ball.
Right.
And that's what I try to say.
And we'll get to our games here in a sec. Let's do MVP really quick, and then we'll take a real quick break. Who's your MVP, Mike? Because you already said my MVP. My MVP for everything that you said, Mike, is Lamar Jackson. Because every single year, the goalpost continually moves for this young man. And what does he do? He continually finds ways to overcome it. Lamar Jackson, hands down, is my MVP, especially after what happened yesterday to Seattle. Like, you have got to be kidding me. Geno Smith, I understand you got receipts on people, but, bro, I'm going to tell you right now, yesterday's game, it wasn't even Lamar that beat you. Baltimore's defense got up in your ass yesterday. So, Lamar Jackson, whatever you and John Harbaugh are doing, don't change a damn thing. Play your style of ball. Be who you want to be. Be your true, authentic self. But, damn it, keep it moving. Because I was just so, like, right now, it's Lamar Jackson.
So you'll be proud of me, because I misread. I missed that part in the email. I thought we were just doing offense, defense, and coach. That's why I took Lamar. But my offense, so I'm switching. I'm agreeing with you on MVP. Lamar, for everything you and I just said, is MVP, improving. My offensive player of the year, and I see that now, and it says big MVP in letters, but I just I was still pissed off and enraged from the Cowboys loss, so I'll just blame it on that. That being said, but Tyreek Hill's my offensive player of the year.
Okay.
Because I know, like, and Ray said, like, MVP, and like I said, what he means to a team. So yes, everything said about Lamar. So I'll just kind of rewind, take my MVP time, talk about Tyreek Hill, even though Lamar is my MVP. Look, I mean, if this dude does go for 2,000 yards, and like I said, it's a team thing, and I still stick by, and I do hope John obviously feels better, but I still stick by my. I heard some people on the radio talking about like Miami, like different stations, and they're saying, "Oh, Miami can, hey, they're the bullies," and you go from a average team to a good team. You and I have talked about this. When you start beating teams that you should,
right,
visibly beating them in every aspect of the game. You're deeper than them. You're making plays at times. Yes, it's the NFL. They're going to make plays, whatever. But like, I still stick by the Fieri. But man, you have a dude like Tyreek Hill that is up for challenges. And I know, yesterday, again, had the fumble and every, knee-jerk reactions. Everybody will change it after one game. But, I mean, the dude is on pace, and he could hit 2,000 yards, Eric. I mean, and that's – look, passing game or not, RPOs, that's sick no matter what. I mean, in the history of the game, and again, when they used to just run the ball, then they went to passing. And then, you had Ray's boy, Calvin Johnson, do that. But, man, I'm just saying, like, it's insane to me that, yes, Mike McDaniel draws up, has great plays, and is like they say, the mad scientist, Eric. But man, when you can motion a dude like that, and if you're trying to play a man like the Chargers did that day, like, yeah, man, hats off to you. There ain't one dude in the NFL that's running with him. You bracket him, and you let somebody else beat you. So. Yeah. Sorry, Sports Arena people. Eric sent it out right. I was just, again, still in tears.
It's all love. Don't worry about it. Look at him. He's still crying. He's still.
I know. Well, I was in Salt Lake City for the ASU tough. That was tough, man. That was tough. But I love my Sun Devils, and I honestly, like, we talk about injuries, Eric, knock on wood. Like, I've never been around a team in all my years, and even covering stuff, that has had this many injuries. And it's different, in pro. You and I agree it is next man up. And I've always said to John, even though, and I'm not picking on him because he's not here. I always pick on him when he is here. Like, there are different levels to talent, but it's still the NFL. So I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. You've obviously, we've had the luxury of talking to players going in pros. I've had the luxury of talking to guys that have coached, high school, head coaches and coordinators, high school, college, semi-pro, arena, pro level. Like, I've had that. No, I haven't talked to every single one, but I've talked to a good amount. And like, when you get to talk to coaches and you see them and like just see things through their eyes, like, it's the NFL. Dudes have talent. Yes. Now, if you're a lot more talented receiver than me, people are going to fear you more, as they should. Or if I'm a better running back than you, of course, they're going to be like, okay, like, we got to be on, like, when he's in there. Yeah, they respect him because they're playing against him. They respect him, but it's like different levels to talent, fine, but it's still the NFL. So, but yeah, ASU, I've never been around this many injuries for a college team or coach. It's insane, but they're still fighting. It was tough in Utah. It was beautiful there. It wasn't freezing, but
that's always good.
Wasn't a beautiful game.
All right, we're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk a little more. We're going to recap some of the games. Mike and I already talked about it, and we are going to talk a little NBA, more on the Sports Arena. We'll be back in just a moment. You see it, National Scouting Combine, February 19th through the 22nd in Indianapolis, Indiana, man. Great time for all these young athletes. The up-and-coming next generation that Mike and I talk about, that Mike gets to see continuously he's a Sun Devil, Jerry, ASU, plus all the other colleges, just giving the opportunity to these young men. Because as we say, the NFL takes the top 300, and we got that. But what about all these other diamonds in the rough, these uncut gems, these leaders amongst men? This talent that you might not notice unless you live on the West Coast, the left coast, or if you're here on the East Coast, or if you're only in a Pacific state. The National Scouting Combine opens that up to all those athletes. So again, February 19th through the 22nd, man, nationalscoutingcombine.com. So back with my man Mike, me and my brother, we doing it for 18 years and keep it riding. So let's talk about some of the games that happened yesterday. We already talked about our game because that was the most important game as far as I'm concerned. We touched on a little bit of the Chiefs and the Dolphins, and we heard John on social media yesterday talking about Patrick Mahomes crying and stuff. I mentioned Baltimore and Seattle, but let's talk about the Sunday Night Football matchup, because that game to me, I think, was more emotional than anything because, not 9 months prior on that Sunday night game was where Damar Hamlin almost lost his life.
Monday night.
He didn't play last night, but he was back there. He was supporting his team. He's been, a huge advocate just for the medical profession and for those who were so instrumental in basically saving his life. But that game last night, talk to me, Mike, what you thought about the Bills and the Bengals.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, that's one thing I love talking to coaches about is I always say talking to coaches, people think I'm trying to name drop or act like I know more than I do. No, it's just asking them questions. And we always heard for years, even growing up, the first, they might script the first 15 plays, even if they go 3 and out, they see what they have, but they're going to run the next, 12 plays. Right. And Cincinnati, man, since Joe Burrow's been in, well, I mean, I know he tore his ACL, but even 2 years ago, getting sacked, like we said all those times, those first 15 plays against the Bills last night, they marched down the field, 12, 15 plays, boom, 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 boom. It's you're looking for certain matchups that you're going to get. Now, Buffalo defensively does a hell of a job of disguising things. I mean, under Sean McDermott, they've done that. We know the guy can definitely coach defense. He's got the guys out there. They're, a little banged up as well. But at the same time, I love what, Joe Burrow, you see what Joe Burrow can do when healthy. And yeah, I mean, look, they were concentrating on Ja'Marr Chase. It's no surprise. What did Burrow do? Got his tight ends involved. I mean, Irv Smith Jr. had the first touchdown, and, then Buffalo struggles to move the ball. And look, Lou Anarumo, I don't know how much longer that dude's staying in Cincy era, because I will say that,
everybody keeps saying that, but I'm I think,
if he wants to, that's another thing. Because look, some guy, again, I know when you get into the profession, yes, in the NFL, if you're a coordinator, you're one of 32 defensive coordinators, you're one of 32 offensive coordinators, one of 32 head coaches, like you always say. But look, man, he's stuck around. It's kind of, to me, it's like Brian Daboll, the way that defense is played, because the last few years in Cincinnati, man, if the offensive line had just a little bit more physicality, the D line, Joe Burrow wouldn't be on his back all the time. But for a dude that's been sacked that much, Eric, it's crazy to me. And the fact that he played through the calf thing, and again, he chose to, I still think they would have had the same record. So
completely agreed with you. And I said the same thing. Ja'Marr Chase might have been joking, but bro, sit your butt down the first 5 games, because your record was still going to be the same regardless.
100%. But no, I mean, I look at them, yeah, you have Ja'Marr Chase. Yeah, you have obviously Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. T. Higgins went crazy last night. There are games where Tyler Boyd will and Ja'Marr Chase. The offensive
about Mixon last night. He had a decent game.
I was going to get, I believe me, I'm getting to Mixon. No, Joe Mixon, yes. Again, it's running the ball in such a way you have somebody like Ja'Marr Chase. When Mixon is going crazy, it's the same thing, with with Ty's favorite first cousins there. But when you had a Dalvin Cook with Ja'Marr Chase, or with Justin Jefferson, it's one of those things where you get that dominant receiver, you have that running back. So yeah, it's one of those things where when I look at Cincy, it's man, they just got to keep him up on his feet. But now the fact that he can move, he ran for a few first downs last night. They look money. People, again, overreactions. I'm not going to say that they're better than the team in their division that's 7-2. Burrow banged up or not, hey, it's just like when I used to say about, all those guys, Brady, Manning, Brees, whoever. If you're on the field, then fine. But if you have to make an excuse later on, then you were hindering your team. Get off the damn field.
Yeah.
A quarterback is different. We all understand that. I'm not that, rainbows and unicorns clueless, but I'm just saying, like, Burrow didn't make an excuse. He played through it. They kept trying to get Zach Taylor to say that, and he's like, well, we're evaluating him. We're keeping an eye on him. And yeah, he wanted to play. To switch it to Buffalo, though, look, man, that defense.
They are missing Milano. I'm telling you that right now, Mike.
Yeah. No, they are
missing. 100%. They are missing those defensive pieces that just aren't there right now.
Tre'Davious White tore his ACL. So
what concerns me is the rest of their schedule. And, because you and I are always huge advocates for Buffalo. Who got Diggs? We talk about Allen. We've always said, listen, if they could get a solid run game, they would be a force. And the run game can't be all Josh Allen. Right. But what I saw last night from watching this game, and here's what I will tell you about Buffalo. Buffalo, to me, I have to, and this is going to pain me to say, and to Bills Mafia, if you want to put me through a table after saying this, I will gladly go through. But I feel like Josh Allen, in a very short amount of time, from when he came into the league till now, I think we've got to start maybe slightly moving him down a notch with regards to where he ranks with the current quarterbacks, because Burrow, we've seen him work through injury and still remain successful. Okay? We know what Patrick Mahomes does. We are seeing it now in Miami. If you give Tua the weapons, look what Tua can be. Is he having not successful sometimes? Yeah. We say the same thing about Jalen. All I heard today on TV was, this is the best that Dak Prescott has ever played since his injury. You know what I mean? Brock Purdy, for his 3 losses and then a bye, we'll see how he responds. We talked about Trevor Lawrence. Justin Herbert's playing right now against a top-tier New York Jets defense and is running away with this game. So when it comes to Josh Allen, I have to say maybe he is taken a step down. I don't know, because it's only halfway through the season. The second half could be a completely different animal, and I could sit back here come January and be like, to Josh Allen, I'm sorry. I might have to say that. But if we don't see it change, Miami being who Miami is, if they get their stuff together, Miami might be the team in the AFC East for this year. We don't know that yet. But something with Josh Allen is just not there. And I can't, listen, I can be biased when it comes to Philadelphia. I can't be biased when it comes to the other 31 other teams, no matter how I feel about them, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I have to, in good conscience, say Josh Allen cannot be the main running weapon on this team. He has an arm. We've seen it. He has weapons. We know it. But that defense also is missing key pieces. And Von Miller, being the soon-to-be Hall of Famer whenever he decides to hang up his cleats, can only do so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm not fully with you on the Josh Allen thing. Look, yes, I mean, the Jets game, week 1, like the interceptions, everybody kept saying he needs to run less. So Ken Dorsey this year, whether he's been talking to him, but every week he's kind of got ripped on for maybe not running when he should have by some. And again, I'm not saying they were the same people saying he shouldn't run, but I will say this. They had a chance to, go out and, Dalvin Cook was out there and, he went to the Jets, and his brother, whether he wanted to come to Buffalo and, didn't want to take carries away from his own brother, like you could have went out and got a Dalvin Cook. Like they could have enticed Dalvin Cook with that team to be there, and that would have been huge. And the trade, remember in the beginning of the season, when we were talking about the mess, like after the mess that Josh McDaniels was in the Raiders and all that stuff. He's in the last year of his deal too, just like Chase Young is. How do you not go after Josh Jacobs? He just got that 1-year extension. Like, offer the Raiders up, and again, I know you don't want to give up picks, but to your point, the guy's on injury. their GM, Bean, has done such a great job. You see who's under contract, Eric, but man, so give him a second. Give him a second this year, or give him like a third this year and a second, next year. So like you kind of pick or a second this coming draft and then a third next draft. So you still have, you're not giving a first round pick for it. And like if the Raiders were asking that, it's like, okay, then you really have no interest in listening to anything because
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things. So I mean, you couldn't like look, Derrick Henry, when the Titans said that, and I mean, I was saying before the deadline, I wish the Cowboys would have offered something crazy, but like they definitely weren't going to trade him in the division, in the conference to Buffalo. Like, I'm sorry, like that, but you probably could have got the Raiders for, like I said, a package like that. So that's the thing. It's always been the running game. They've had guys that were like good, but it's like, okay, that were decent, but they feed him the ball. But Josh Allen's going to be able to chuck it. I mean, and then when he ran in for that touchdown yesterday. So look, I mean, Tre'Davious White being out for the season. At least they got Poyer back. I mean, they got both their safeties back in Poyer and Hyde. Yes, you do miss a Milano. And with what he means to that defense, the D-line is playing better. But I mean, Eric, I want to say this, like last night when I was getting ready for this, when you sent this out this morning, like you look at Allen's numbers, 26 of 38, 258, a touchdown and a pick. Burrow, 31 of 44, 348, 2 touchdowns. And he was sacked only one. The crazy thing is he was getting the ball out quick because he only got sacked one time. Like, right. Against Buffalo, like, okay, I'm not going to be able to like sit back, maybe take an extra half second or a second, because if I want to hit Jamar downfield or I want to hit T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd, like, injured or not, there's dudes getting there. Buffalo makes it up good, and they only got to him one time. Yeah, I mean, sacked. There were hurries. But look, man, hats off to, I will say this, Cincinnati can challenge Baltimore. My whole wrap to this, because, again, you hit on Josh Allen perfectly there, and they need to run the ball. Their offensive line isn't the problem. Josh Allen, I mean, like you're saying, isn't the problem. Yes, that interception was tough. I mean, Dalton Kincaid, everybody's saying, oh, yeah, they took this tight end. He's supposed to be good. Yeah, I want to see anybody flip in the air, and then a dude just comes in. I mean, if you saw the replay in slow-mo, but that guy did it in real time, like just picked up the ball and said, oh, he's flipping in the air, and he's trying to protect it. He punched the ball right out. It's a fluke play. But nonetheless, it's still a play that counts, Eric, that was made. So, look, I look at Buffalo. They can play defense and keep themselves in games. They're not going to see with Miami defensively, look, they controlled Miami in Buffalo when it was warm. They're going to go down to Miami at the end of the season. It's going to be warm there too. So, I mean, that to me is interesting. But you made the point about their schedule, Eric. Yes, they have the Dolphins. Yes, they have the Jets again. They also have the Cowboys. They have the Eagles. I think they're not playing the NFC West. But yeah, they're playing obviously the NFC East. So like, the Giants went toe-to-toe with them. Like, they blew out Washington. So they have Dallas and Philly left there. And then their division games. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. But if there's a team that can weather it, my only pushback to you would be that's a team that's going to win games that, once again, people are like, oh, well, yeah, they're this, they're that. I just think that Ken Dorsey needs to go back and look at some tape stuff, Eric, because I was flipping through the radio. I forgot who said it today, but it was a great point as I was flipping through listening. He said, because Brian Dable, like under Sean McDermott, Brian Dable, and even Ken Dorsey was a quarterback coach. You saw the growth. Like his first year, he would take off and run, or he would chuck it 70 yards downfield, and that's why they went and got Diggs, because they didn't have that true number one that could take the top off the defense.
Facts.
Gabe Davis can do that, but he needs to hold on to the ball this year. I don't know what the hell his problem is. But that being said,
again, it's the wide receiving. I'm like, I just why are wide receivers who in previous years were those complementary pieces that we talk about to a number one, which created the core.
Right. And he's not new to the team. It's not like this is Gabe Davis's first season on the team.
Right. That's what I'm saying to you. It's like, right. It's like you already know who, when you see your schedule and you know who your opponent is, you know who your number one typically is going to be for the opposing team. So it's like, I don't understand where these other pieces are. Now, I'm biased because at least I still know that Jalen understands, hey, if they're going to double team AJ, well, we've got Devontae and we've got Dallas, who prayers up for him. He's going to be out maybe a game or two, but I hope to see him back. But we got Quez. We got Zacchaeus. Oh, and by the way, we still have a run game. You know what I'm saying? And even a simple as John likes to say, a dink and dunk to DeAndre Swift, who can turn that into positive yardage off a simple flip toss. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I anticipate that a Gabe Davis is going to be that guy that Josh Allen, when he's reading his progressions, it's going to go Stephon, Gabe Davis, and then maybe Dalton. You know what I mean? Or find a way to mix and match and go through those progressions, but it just seems like we're not seeing it with those guys.
Right. And I'm just gonna say that touchdown pass and then the 2-point conversion to Diggs. Yeah. I thought of you. I'm like, that's Aaron. And I was watching the game and I almost texted you saying, "Yep, who got Diggs?" I mean, that's what Josh Allen can do, and obviously Joe Burrow can do that too. But that was a dime. I mean, he hits him in stride in the back third of the end zone.
Yeah.
And Diggs just catches it both feet down and then gets the 2-point conversion. Like, yeah, I mean, that's – but I will say this. Fast forward to the offseason, because look, they can still definitely be fine. They can win games. Their defense, like I said, will definitely keep them in it and very relevant. And I think Josh Allen will too. But they need to go get that dude running back. Like, go get that dude.
I don't care.
It's got to be – and if you draft him, and that's fine. If people trade up and say, "Oh, what are they doing?" Dude, like if you evaluate, there's that dude. Or again, if you can go again, Josh Jacobs, man, Saquon Barkley. Like, I'm just telling you right now, if Josh Allen had one of those two, you and I would probably having a little. I'm not saying they wouldn't have lost the games they lost, but I think they definitely week one, like, probably beat the Jets after Aaron Rodgers goes down.
No argument there. And really quick, I'll pull up because we were talking about it. I'll pull up Buffalo's schedule here so we can see. Give me 1 sec.
It's a man of what the teams have done that they have to play left. I saw a teeny bit of it, but it's a grown man schedule.
Yeah, so they've got, next up they've got Buffalo. Here we go. They got Denver. Then they've got New York. I think that's the Giants. The Giants.
No, Jets. They've just beat the Jets.
Oh, that's the Jets. Sorry, the Jets. Yeah, Broncos, Jets. Then they're at Philly, at Kansas City. Then they are home for Dallas. They go and play the Chargers. Home for New England. Come down to Miami. So, I mean, I don't know what the analytics or the percentages say about that, but looking at that, this team has just got to find a way. They're 5-4 right now. The last 5, they're 2-3. And it's like, okay.
Like, that loss to New England was brutal. Like, you can't let them go down and drive.
You can't let Mac Jones beat you. I'm sorry. You just can't. I get it's a division game, but you can't let Mac Jones beat you.
Touché.
New Year's Eve, when New England comes to Buffalo better just
stomp them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right, last topic of the night before we get out of here, Mike. So the NBA is introducing a in-season tournament. It tipped off on Friday.
And then it goes every Friday and Tuesday.
Yeah, the championship is going to be December 9th.
In Vegas.
So all 30 teams are in this, and I just want to get your thoughts on this. Like, is the NBA trying to make it more appealing the first part of the season? Because as we have even said, unless you're a true basketball enthusiast,
right,
or you go to the games religiously like we have done in the past, people don't really pay attention unless it's like a marquee matchup, such as
opening night and then Christmas Day. Like the team's opening few games and then Christmas Day is like the kickoff,
Right. And then we don't talk about NBA until after NFL season is over, which is the middle of February, going into the end of that season, and then of course we're talking playoffs. So just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, when we talked about it with Ray, like when they first brought it up, I'm all for it. It motivates, players to play, this whole load management stuff. And, I commend Adam Silver and the NBA for coming. I think it is cool, for the players. Yeah, if you win, I mean, there is obviously a huge monetary bonus. But I mean, look, to me, and again, not that it's not a good idea. Not saying that, yes, they have to work out the basketball kinks to it, and then more so just obviously, they put the schedule into their computer, the randomizer. But then you got to say, okay, well, these are going to be games, so you got to see who's, once they pick the groups, that's a little challenge. Well, whatever, it's a computer program, but nonetheless, but yeah, I mean, it's just like obviously. I watch a lot of obviously you're like international soccer. So like they've done, the European League, like you have your UEFA Champions League, which, the top four from I think they changed to the top three. It used to be the top four, but I think top three in wild cards, but qualify for Champions League. So you can win a Champions League trophy. So that's on top of obviously playing within the club season. So if you're playing in Italy, yes, you have your games, but in Champions League, now it's like everybody from around, obviously Europe. So you're in a thing, but then you also have your countries like, cup where all divisions like that, they say like the MLS, like to have the North American Cup here for people that don't watch, Eric. But the one thing is that, so like even the teams in the United Soccer League, the USL, would play teams in the MLS, and there's comp all year long, and then you have okay, so they won the cup. But in Europe, it's the same thing. Like in England, they have the FA Cup, because I know a ton of people watch the Netflix thing on David Beckham, which is awesome if they haven't checked it out. But so do I think it's a good idea?
Actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I was watching that the other night. I like it.
Yeah, no, Beckham. I mean, look, he's always been a straight. I mean, I knew it was bad for him because I remember watching the whole thing in France and when he got the red card, but I knew it was bad for him when he got back to England. But like that, I mean, it's just ridiculous what sports fans do, but that's a show topic for us for another time. But yeah, no, so you could win the FA Cup, you could win the Champions League, you could win so if you win the cup, you could win you'd win so Manchester United, people know they could win the FA Cup. They could win.
Hey, we don't talk Man U on this show. I'm sorry. We don't talk Man U. We don't talk Chelsea. Arsenal, baby. Arsenal. Okay. All
right. So Arsenal could win they could win the EPL, then they could win the FA Cup, and then if they were in Champions League, they could win Champions League. And I mean, and that's the triple crown. Like people oh, well, I'm sure Real Madrid spent all the money, or Barcelona. No, triple crown winners don't happen that often. It is tough because even you're playing in your league games and stuff like that. But I do like the idea. Didn't mean to get off on soccer, but it's not crazy original, but I do think it's cool to bring, the fans in and see what player, the players are actually playing in these games. It does cut down on the load, man, from November to December. But to your point, you just made it you'll talk about, like you said, sports people and people covering sports obviously are talking about or covering it. People are watching, but now that you have this tournament, people might be, maybe, and they're doing the games but obviously opposite of Major League Baseball, like I said to you a lot of times, one of the games, Eric, Tuesday and Friday. So basically Friday, you're if people want to watch college football Fridays, again, if you're into a sport or your team's playing, maybe you're watching college football. If you're a bigger college football fan, Friday nights, you might watch that. But Tuesday nights, okay, no Monday Night Football to combat with. Obviously baseball's over, World Series done, hockey's going on. So again, hockey fans obviously go New Jersey Devils, they rock.
Go Flyers, thank you. Okay.
Geez Louise. But I mean, yeah, you get those games to get people talking about it earlier. So do I think it's cool? Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I just think that it's certain teams, people say, oh, well, certain teams, I mean, they're going to be terrible. No, look.
Well, here's the groups. I mean, listen, here are the groups, how they draw it, okay? So in the West, you got the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And in the West B, you've got the Champs and the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Mavericks, and the Rockets. And then West C is the Kings, Warriors, Timberwolves, Thunder, and Spurs. And then you can see the group here. So you can see how the groups are set up. I think personally, it definitely gives people an opportunity to kind of pay a little more attention. Again, the money aspect of it, of course, because everybody wants to win. And, coaches get paid a certain amount, players get paid a certain amount, and it's a new trophy that's being introduced. So it does, and it's at the beginning of the season. So, to our point, it's okay, in the beginning, you're playing for something. Then you've got the Christmas games. And then you've only really got January where not much is going to be talked about but you have still some of those matchups because this is where teams begin to. Well, you have the All-Star break, of course.
Right, but as college football ends too, because like you're saying, January.
Right.
So like, as people go to bowl games and college football ends, yes, like I said, you know me, I'm watching as many Devils games as possible. So,
Yeah.
well, but like basketball wise, yeah, I'm going to watch the Suns. I mean, it's great because, they're on the Eastern Seaboard. I'm here out West, even though now I'm an hour closer to you in time because we don't change time here in Arizona. So
Yeah.
it stays the same. But now that I'm an hour closer to you in time, it's one of those things where like I can still watch the Suns play in those games. But once college football ends, like that's why they say Christmas, because like bowl games are wrapping up. The playoffs coming to, for even though it's after the New Year, as we know. But I look at it and I do think it's a very good idea. Yeah, they get the bonus and the money. And yeah, I mean, like it's a cool trophy. And, I will say this, shout out to, Michael Wilbon, because he lives here in the, Tony Kornheiser always crushing me. His houses everywhere, but being here in the Valley. But, he just said, he's like, it's almost like, you get orange slices at halftime and everybody gets a trophy. But no, I mean, but at the end, Tony Kornheiser said to me, he goes, what do you think Michael Jordan would say? He's like, he'd be saying, oh, we're going to win this.
Right.
We're going to have the best record in the league.
Yeah.
We're going to win he goes, and then we're going to win the NBA title. Like we're winning everything. So like to that standpoint of competition, even though like we've always said, you and I, like, yeah, not that those guys weren't friends back then, but they didn't hug each other on the court after every game. It was like, get the hell out of my face. I'll talk to you at dinner. Like, I mean, one of those things, but
pretty much.
I think it's cool.
It's like me and you last night. If we were together, we'd be like, Mike, I love you. I'll see you at 8:00 for dinner. Losers got to buy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we would have done.
Yeah, you said good game, and I was like, about to send the cussing emoji with the thing over the mouth to you, but I was like, no, he's being nice, he's being fair. So, but yeah, no. I think they should have done something like this earlier. I mean, look, David Stern, as we know, did so much from the NBA Finals used to be on tape delays. You and I talked about 1,000 years ago, which kids are like, wait, what's tape delay?
Yeah, exactly. Like, go look it up, kids. Google it.
Exactly. Like to what he did to the game. I mean, obviously the Dream Team expanded the international game. We've had that conversation. So like, yeah, to have this kind of in-season tournament but calendar-wise, to your point, yeah, like it makes sense to do it this time. I mean, even if they started it, say, in December, the beginning of December, and ended it would still end in January.
Why not end it All-Star Weekend?
No, because that's too close to the playoffs. No.
Why?
Because that's trade deadline.
2 months.
No, because that's trade deadline. I think the players even probably have, the owners, the GMs. I mean, talking to the owners are probably like, no, because if you're going to make a trade, I think an in-season tournament like that, like again, people are going to be like, okay, it's only the in-season tournament, but the NBA doesn't want to devalue it. So there's not, barring any crazy madness, outside of the okay, I'm not even picking on Philly, but James Harden, he could have been traded in the offseason. We talked about that, but to me, that's too close. But if you go if you start it, I mean, they started October. So, and you said December 9th is the
December, I think December 7th or something like that was what I saw.
Okay. So yeah. So that's the December 7th or 9th. So, okay. So you started at the very end, of October and it goes to December.
You're right. December 9th, December 9th. Sorry.
So if you started it at the end of November and then it was January 9th, to me, that's perfect because to your point, it's enough separation before, you still get the Christmas games, which are big. There's not going to be tournament games. People will be there, but then you might have people that, like we're saying, are casually watching that are going to be like, oh, what the tournament? Like, yeah, I kind of heard about it, but oh man, it's going on. They'll see the highlights. And then next year they'll be like, oh man, I definitely want to check this out. So if you go from the end of November to January 9th, then it's like, boom. But that's right. Cause that's your calendar push. That's your push after the new year, obviously football going into their playoffs. And you're like, okay. And then you have the Super Bowl, but even those 2 weeks between Super Bowl, there's a ton of NBA games, obviously, but you ended January 9th and then it's like, okay, there's a champ. And then you have the end of January, your all-star break in February, the trade deadline. So calendar wise, I can see it. I just think that maybe the NBA will look at it and tweak it. I just think you could still get more people in, start it a month later, because the thing with it is, okay, you want it to mean something, but starting it that early in the season where teams, again, yes, they're professionals, but that's my whole thing. If you space it and then it's like, oh, cool, ended on January 9th, it's right after the new year, or space it back to where it ends right before the new year if you want, whatever. But I'm just thinking to me, that would be perfect. And now you keep the count. People like, even if they are bigger football fans, on Tuesdays and Fridays are like, oh man, I got to check out. Oh, so-and-so's playing. Oh, we got to go check this game out. Like you said. So I think you could tweak the calendar, but I mean, yeah, I think it's a good idea. It's fun. And, I get sick and tired. I'm glad they changed the rules. You have to at least play, 58, 60 games to be in the contention for a postseason award.
Agreed.
But yeah, no, I mean, I do love it. Obviously I love Champions League for years. I love watching like those FA Cup games, like you said, or I'm watching
he's back on soccer.
Arsenal, whatever. No, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of excitement, though, man.
No, there is. There really is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for my brother Mike Carrottenuto and myself here on the Sports Arena. We will see y'all next Monday. I'm off this week, so I ain't got to worry about my team. I don't got to be pacing through my house like I was last night. But shout out to the big guard. It took him 9 weeks, but he is our Sports Arena Weekly Pick'ems champ. I will make sure to get his crown out to him tomorrow. And Mike, I'm sorry to say, even though you and I still got love for the Jets, it looks like tonight's just not their night.
27-6. Yeah, it's about 46 seconds left.
Yeah, so shout out to the big guard. We'll see how things go down. Oh, can I just say this really quick, Mike? Thursday night, man, really? We got the Bears and I think it's the Panthers. Is that who we got Thursday night?
Wait, hold on. I can tell you. Hold on. I have it right. Hold on.
Like for real, that's what we are subjected to. Like, when does the flex thing start? Yeah, Panthers and Bears.
Panthers and Bears. Yeah, sorry, I just got it right here. Yeah. No, there's no flex for Thursday night football. It's just Sunday night. No, Monday night.
Like, really? Like, come on, man. I don't even know who I'm. Like, you know me. I hate saying this, but can it be a tie?
Sorry, that was weird. That was from my schedule page. That was weird. I just flipped to the NFL schedule. That was weird. You don't know what?
I said, can it be a tie?
I was going to ask you in our things if we can predict, if we're allowed to predict.
Oh, no, we can predict the tie. Yes, we can. Yes. But
because I don't think there will be, because I think Bryce Young's going to be I think it's actually very good for Bryce Young to get back on the field after throwing 2 pick sixes to that dude. From the Colts, who had his twin sister and 5 other sisters there at the game. And they're going to Germany this week. He's like, man, I might have to pay to get my sisters over there because they were at the game and I got 2 pick sixes.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll find out. We'll talk more about it throughout the week, man. For the entire crew on the Sports Arena, your man Eric Wilson alongside my brother ASU. Again, he's a Sun Devil, Jerry. Forks Up, Pitchfork Lunch, Pac-12 Review, all over everything Arizona State University. My man Mike Carrottenuto. Much love to everybody, and we will talk to y'all next week. Peace.